When people think about World War II, the first images that come to mind are tanks, planes and battles that changed borders. Rarely do we think about the small improvised survival tools soldiers and resistance fighters used to stay alive in hostile territory. Yet, for countless men and women operating behind enemy lines, the ability to feed themselves without supply lines was the difference between life and death. Stay with me through this opening minute, because what we're about to explore isn't drawn from strategy manuals or popular history books. It comes from declassified field notes, survivor testimonies, and rare photographs that show ingenuity born of necessity. These are tools that required nothing more than natural materials, a bit of patience, and an understanding of animal behaviour. Learning these techniques today gives modern survivalists insight into how our ancestors survived extreme conditions, and it teaches lessons about resourcefulness that no store-bought kit can replace. The war created conditions that demanded improvisation for food procurement. In occupied territories, supply lines were fragile, and even soldiers well behind the front faced hunger. Resistance fighters, partisans and small units operating in forests or mountains often had to live completely off the land. With rations scarce or non-existent, they couldn't rely on canned food or dropped packages. The environment became both a threat and a resource. Soldiers quickly discovered that survival depended on observation, creativity, and minimal equipment. Anything could be turned into a tool wire from old fences, branches, twine made from natural fibres, or scraps of metal from abandoned equipment. The goal was simple: create a system to trap or snare small game reliably, efficiently, and with minimal visibility. For modern survivalists, the principle is timeless. Observing your environment and understanding the behaviour of animals or local resources can provide sustenance even without modern gear. The key is to recognise that survival tools are not just physical objects. They are systems and strategies built from whatever materials are at hand. Understanding animal behaviour was as important as building the trap. World War II soldiers and partisans quickly realised that knowing their target was more important than the mechanics of the trap itself. Rabbits, squirrels and birds all behave predictably if you watch closely. Trails, feeding patterns and nesting spots offered crucial information. Soldiers learned to place traps along these pathways rather than in random locations, and to camouflage them so that movement or scent wouldn't alert the animal. This knowledge turned even the simplest snare into a reliable source of food. The modern application is, well, quite straightforward. Whether you are practicing bushcraft, studying wildlife, or preparing for emergencies, learning to read signs in the environment dramatically increases your chances of success. Tracking tracks, droppings, or feeding signs helps you make more informed decisions. You don't need any fancy tools, just observation, patience, and a solid understanding of patterns. Improvised materials can create functional and sustainable traps. One of the most remarkable aspects of Second World War trapping tools is how soldiers made functional devices from virtually nothing. Twigs bent into spring traps, bent nails or wire formed into snares, and cordage twisted from natural fibres became reliable mechanisms. Even small stones or sticks could serve as weight triggers for simple deadfalls. The design didn't have to be elegant, it simply had to work consistently. And in many cases, simplicity made the trap more effective. Partisans emphasized concealment, ease of resetting, and minimal movement so the trap could be left unattended for days. Applying this today doesn't require you to replicate a wartime environment. You can practice creating simple traps or snares using cordage, sticks, or other natural materials in a controlled, safe setting. This teaches critical skills like material manipulation, tension management, and spatial awareness. The underlying lesson is that, more often than not, resourcefulness outweighs the quality of the materials. Maintenance and adaptability were crucial for long-term survival. Partisans and soldiers didn't just set a trap and forget it. They monitored them, adjusted them, and learned from failures. A snare that worked once might fail under slightly different weather conditions, while a deadfall needed calibration if soil or moisture shifted. This iterative approach ensured a continuous food source. It also emphasized the importance of observation and adjustment, reinforcing the idea that survival is a dynamic process, not a static checklist. In modern outdoor practice, the same principle applies. Any survival system, whether for food, water or shelter, requires continuous evaluation and adaptation. Testing, adjusting and refining tools and techniques, well, it really does improve effectiveness and builds confidence in challenging conditions. The legacy of World War II, improvised trapping, continues to influence modern survival skills. The forgotten ingenuity of these soldiers and partisans, left a lasting mark. Today's bushcraft schools, survival manuals and outdoor skills workshops draw heavily on these wartime lessons. The emphasis on improvisation, understanding natural systems and creating functional tools from minimal resources reflects exactly what was necessary in forests and mountains behind enemy lines. Beyond historical curiosity, this knowledge equips anyone venturing into wilderness or uncertain environments with strategies that don't rely on modern equipment or electronics. Ultimately, the value of studying these forgotten tools isn't just about catching food. It's about mindset, seeing opportunity in scarcity, learning from observation, and using creativity to survive. These are lessons as relevant now as they were 70 years ago. If this look at World War II's improvised trapping techniques gave you practical insights and historical perspective, make sure you subscribe to Backyard Wisdom, share this guide with fellow enthusiasts, and continue exploring the forgotten skills that shaped both survival and history.